In the bustling city of Chicago, Jessica Opare, a motivational speaker and relationship coach, often found herself reflecting on the small details that reveal the truth about people. Her career had taken her across the United States, speaking to audiences from New York to Los Angeles, where she shared insights about trust, communication, and the psychology of relationships. She believed that the biggest mistakes people made in love weren't because they didn't care, but because they failed to notice the signs that were right in front of them. One evening, Jessica sat in a quiet cafe near Millennium Park. She watched couples walk by, some holding hands, some distracted by their phones. She thought about a story from one of her seminars in Atlanta, where a young man had shared his heartbreak. His name was Michael, and he had been engaged to a woman named Laura. Everything seemed perfect at first: dinners, laughter, late-night talks. But over time, he noticed subtle changes in the way Laura spoke. It wasn't about arguments or anger. It was about phrases. Jessica remembered him saying, she would say things like, "He understands me better than anyone," when she talked about her coworker. Or, "I feel like I can tell him everything," but she wasn't talking about me anymore. Michael didn't want to believe it at first, but those words revealed what her heart was beginning to lean toward. Jessica understood that human psychology often speaks through language before actions. The words someone chooses can uncover where their emotions are invested. When a partner begins to consistently compare you with another person, especially someone close like a friend, colleague, or neighbor, it's a red flag. Not because friendship is wrong, but because admiration, trust, and emotional intimacy were shifting outside the relationship. She explained this to her audience with careful detail. "It's not always about accusations," Jessica said, pacing the stage at a seminar in Houston. "It's about listening to patterns. When she says, 'He knows me better than anyone,' or 'I can always count on him,' but she stops saying those things about you, it's not just words. It's psychology revealing the state of the heart." Jessica shared another story from her time in New York City. A woman named Rachel had confided in her during a workshop. Rachel admitted that before her breakup, she often found herself speaking highly of a male friend, even in front of her boyfriend. She didn't intend harm, but looking back, she realized her words reflected the emotional shift happening inside her. By the time her boyfriend noticed, the connection had already weakened. Jessica always reminded her audiences that noticing these signs wasn't about paranoia but about awareness. Relationships thrive on trust, but trust must be paired with attentiveness. When your partner's admiration begins to drift consistently towards someone else, especially through repeated words, it's time for an honest conversation. Not shouting, not accusing, but asking, "Why do you feel closer to them than me?" In Los Angeles, Jessica gave another powerful example. She recalled counseling a couple, David and Emily, who had been married for 6 years. David grew suspicious when Emily constantly praised her neighbor, saying things like, "He's so helpful, he's always there when I need something." At first, David brushed it off as kindness. But over time, he realized Emily spoke more warmly about her neighbor than about him. When Jessica sat with them, Emily admitted that she had felt emotionally neglected and found comfort in someone who simply listened. It wasn't about betrayal at first, it was about unmet needs. Jessica told audiences, cheating doesn't always begin with actions. It begins with words, with attention, with emotional connections. If she starts saying certain things, especially about someone close, pay attention. She may not even realize what she's doing, but her words are revealing her heart. She emphasized that these signs weren't always proof of infidelity but indicators of disconnection. The healthy response was not anger but curiosity, not accusation but communication. Jessica urged couples to be brave enough to ask difficult questions early. By doing so, many relationships could heal before trust was broken. Letters poured in from people across the country after her speeches. A man from Miami wrote that Jessica's words helped him recognize his girlfriend's emotional drift early, and instead of exploding in anger, he sat down and had an honest talk that saved their relationship. A woman from Seattle shared that she realized she was guilty of the same thing. She often spoke highly of a coworker instead of her husband. After listening to Jessica's talk, she caught herself and decided to redirect that admiration back into her marriage. Jessica found these testimonies encouraging. They showed her that her message wasn't about suspicion. It was about awareness and healing. When people became attentive to language, they became attentive to the heart. And when they responded with love, they built stronger foundations. She often ended her sessions with this reflection: words are windows. They show us where the heart is leaning. If she says certain things about someone else, especially someone close, it may not mean betrayal yet. But it does mean attention, energy, and emotion are shifting. Notice it, talk about it, and work on it together. That's how trust grows, not by ignoring, but by listening to what psychology is already telling us. For Jessica, this message wasn't about blame but about hope. In every city, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, she carried the same truth. Relationships are built not just on love, but on paying attention to the language that reveals where love truly lives.